ICA operates in a global world which has limited resources. So it is vital that we take a sustainable approach to both people and the environment. The purpose of the film is to improve our suppliers' understanding of ICA's expectations on social and environmental responsibility. We will give practical advice and examples to help suppliers make improvements. We will cover the topics: working environment, personal safety, child labour, forced labour, working hours and compensation, trade union, discrimination, environment and bribery. Spend a little time watching the film and replay any chapters you feel may be useful. ICA is a market leader in the Swedish retail sector, as well as an important player in retail in Norway and the Baltic states. Many consumers visit ICA's stores on a daily basis, and ICA's popular series of adverts are screened during primetime TV in Sweden.
Vi på ICA älskar Sverige.
Och det vill vi manifestera
med ett erbjudande på det svenskaste av det svenska.
Jenny.
Consumers and opinion formers in ICA's markets in Northern Europe regard ICA as a role model. They expect ICA to set the same high standards in production methods, no matter where in the world the goods are produced. They also expect ICA's suppliers to comply with a range of social and environmental standards, which are taken for granted in Europe, but perhaps not always in the country some suppliers operate in. These include not using child labour, providing a safe working environment, and recognizing the right to trade union membership. The standards we require are set out clearly in the agreements which all our suppliers must conform to. The standards are based on the UN Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the International Labour Organization's ILO Fundamental Conventions. We at ICA must have a clear and accurate picture of what things are like where our goods are produced, so that we and our suppliers can work together to make continuous improvements. That's why ICA conducts audits and inspections. The purpose of an audit is to follow up and ensure that ICA's suppliers comply with our requirements. The audit is more than a one-off visit. It is a tool used to ensure that our partnership constantly improves. Suppliers' commitment is incredibly important, particularly when it comes to implementing agreed improvements. The goal is to ensure that all suppliers of ICA's own brand products have undergone social audits. This means that ICA or a third party carries out an audit at the supplier's premises to ensure that conditions there meet our requirements. Improving conditions in the areas of social compliance and environmental performance benefit both ICA and our suppliers. Please take careful note of the following practical advice and examples of good practice. The working environment must be safe. In the event of a gas leak, flooding, fire, or other dangers, it is important that the facilities can be evacuated in a hurry. Emergency exits must be unobstructed, clearly marked and lit even during power cuts. The workforce must carry out practice evacuations in accordance with the posted evacuation plans on a regular basis. Essential safety equipment must be adequate, unobstructed, and easily accessible. Fire extinguishers must be accessible in adequate numbers, and it must be possible to activate the fire alarm from the workshop floor. All facilities must be regularly inspected and certified by the fire authorities. Gas, chemicals, and electric wiring must be marked, safely stored, and checked according to regulations so that they do not present a threat to employees. The personal safety of employees must be ensured and adequate working conditions guaranteed. The workplace must be clean and tidy, with good lighting, proper ventilation, comfortable temperatures, and safe noise levels. The employees must be trained in how to use personal protective equipment, protective devices, and the shut-off switch that must be fitted on all machines. This switch must be fully functional at all times. First aid kits must be distributed and easily accessible. All employees must have access to fresh water and clean toilets whenever they need them. They must be given breaks and sufficient time to eat.
The canteen must have a hygiene certificate, and the workplace, warehouse and dormitory should not be accommodated in the same building.
Suppliers must not employ underage workers. The law in each country defines who is to be considered as underage. The supplier must have a no child labour policy. This means that no child younger than the legal minimum working age in the country is allowed to work there. The policy must also state that young employees are not allowed to carry out heavy duties or dangerous jobs, and that they have the right to frequent physical examinations. The supplier must always maintain documentation showing the ages of their employees. Suppliers must not use forced labour. Employees must be allowed to leave the premises and be able to open any doors from the inside. Salary or identity documents must not be retained at any time. Employees must have acceptable employment conditions in respect of working hours and compensation. Many countries or areas have stated the acceptable compensations levels and number of working hours. Check available information about existing regulations. Employees must be provided with an employment contract and must be given 1 day off in 7. Suppliers should be able to present verifying documents as payrolls, working time records, and pay slips. Workers shall have the right to be members of a trade union and must be given the opportunity to participate in collective bargaining. Instead of a trade union,
A workers' committee
may be established. Employees must not be discriminated against because of their ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or age. All employees must be treated equally, and the supplier must have an equality policy which must be implemented. Production must be carried out with respect for the environment and with the aim of minimizing environmental impact. As environmental policy must be drawn up, environmental goals set and appropriate measures implemented. If required by law, the necessary environmental permits must be obtained. In order to minimize the resources used in production, energy and water must be measured and recorded. Waste should be recycled or reused to the greatest possible extent. Clear routines must be put in place for handling waste, which prevents environmental pollution. Chemicals used in production must be handled in a safe manner with regards to employees and the environment. A list of all chemicals used must be maintained. Chemicals must be stored in a way that prevents leakage. Employees handling chemicals must have proper training. The use of bribery is not acceptable.
ICA will stop working with the supplier immediately
If it emerges that bribery is being used to circumvent laws and regulations. Suppliers must take a stand against bribes of any kind and set out a policy that must be followed.
What happens if ICA's requirements are not followed? If a supplier is not willing to deal with issues identified during the audit, ICA may be forced to end the partnership. As a supplier, you have a great deal to gain from complying with ICA's requirements. Many other companies with significant purchasing power set standards similar to ICA's. This means that a supplier who successfully undergoes the audit described here has a head start over his competitors. A company which adopts an active approach to these issues and takes them seriously will also benefit from loyal employees who feel good and work effectively, as well as an environmentally responsible and safe working environment. Let your colleagues watch this film and read the written guide that lists the factors which are vital if your company is to build a long-term relationship with ICA. If you need help or more information on what we expect from our suppliers, please contact us at ICA.